I've used Craigslist quite a bit in the past, mostly to buy and sell different things like furniture, electronics, and even clothes, but as a woman, I always try to be extra cautious when I use it, even though I've heard some strange and even scary stories about other people's experiences. I've been pretty lucky so far. I've never had any real issues aside from a couple of weird buyers who made me uneasy. I also enjoy browsing the Mist Connections page. Now it's a section where people post about someone they saw in public but didn't get a chance to talk to, hoping that the other person might see it on a good day. You can find some really funny posts there, and it's just an entertaining part of the website. Music overall. Then one day while I was browsing, I saw a post titled "Hello." The post said, "You should really pay more attention when people are watching you. It can hurt someone's feelings when they're ignored. You're blonde and petite, and I like watching you pick out your groceries." I couldn't help but wonder about that post, especially since I was also blonde and petite, and I just happened to be at the grocery store the day before. But it was probably just some strange coincidence after all. Anyway, I kept browsing through a few more posts to get my mind off it, then decided I'd had enough for the day and logged off. About a week later, I found myself back at that same grocery store. I was going through my usual routine, pushing my car down the aisles and picking up what I needed, not really paying attention to anything around me. The store wasn't too busy, and I was just focused on my shopping list. I wasn't even thinking about that strange post from Craigslist anymore. It had completely slipped my mind. And with everyone wearing masks now, it feels like we all just blend in, but this time I felt like someone was watching me. You know that feeling when you just know someone's looking at you. I was in the produce aisle, and when I turned to look at the other end of the aisle, I saw a man staring at me. I didn't get a good look at him at first because I didn't want to make eye contact for too long. I glanced again, and his stare felt cold, almost like he was looking right into my soul. It gave me chills. I stared back for a few seconds, trying to figure out if I was imagining things or if there was really something off. He was wearing a mask like everyone else, but I could see enough to tell that he was a short, overweight, middle-aged man. I knew this wasn't just a coincidence. He was definitely focused on me, and it made me really uneasy. So I grabbed the rest of the items I needed, barely even thinking about what I was picking up. I just wanted to get out of there as fast as I could. I headed straight to the checkout, trying not to look back, and hurried through paying for my groceries. All I wanted at that moment was to leave and get somewhere safe. When I got to the parking lot and started walking to my car, I noticed that the man from the store was following me. I turned around and saw him slowly walking towards my car, which made me speed up my pace. I got into my car, and as I turned to drive out of the parking lot, I saw him again. He was just standing there staring at me. When I finally got home, I felt so relieved. That night I was bored and decided to browse the internet for a while. I ended up back on the Connections page that night, just scrolling through for something interesting. That's when I saw a post titled "Nice seeing you." It said, "I love watching you in the grocery store door, but it was really rude of you to run away from me in the parking lot. I just want you to love me." As I read those words, I could feel my tears started to well up in my eyes. It all came together in that moment. Those two posts I had seen earlier, they were about me, the creepy guy in the store, and in the parking lot it was him. He had been watching me, and now he was writing these things online. The fact that he had followed me and even written about it was terrifying. It wasn't just some weird coincidence, it was real, and he was fixated on me, even though I knew it wasn't a good idea. I replied to the post demanding an explanation and threatening to call the police. The reply I got back made me feel sick. It said, "I was waiting for you to reply. It's so good to finally talk to you now. We can be together." I replied again, telling him to leave me alone and that there was no chance of us ever being together. I also told him I was going to the police, and I flagged his post. I stayed up late that night. Then around 2 a.m. I got an email notification. It was a reply from that guy's email. This time there was an image attached. The picture was of me in my kitchen wearing the same clothes I had on at that very moment. Oh my God, he was outside my house. Then I heard a knock at my living room window. I didn't even think about opening the blinds to look. I was too scared. But then I heard his voice say, "Let me in, we can finally be together." I went straight into the bathroom and locked the door behind me. My hands were shaking. But I managed to call 911 when I was trying to explain everything to the operator, but I could barely catch my breath. That's when I heard it, the sound of the window downstairs shattering. My whole body went cold. I started screaming, crying harder than I ever had before. He was trying to calm me down, telling me to stay on the line and that the police were on their way, but all I could think about was that someone was inside my house. I stayed as quiet as I could, trying to listen for any sounds downstairs. My heart was pounding and I felt completely trapped. I had no idea what that man was doing or if he was coming upstairs. All I could do was wait and hope that the police would arrive in time. Suddenly I heard the man right outside the bathroom door slamming against it and yelling at me to open up. Then I heard the sound of police sirens. The man stopped banging on the door and I heard him running away. A few minutes later the police arrived, but by then the guy was already gone. I gave the officers my report and told them everything about the Craigslist post, the grocery store, and how he had been following me. They said they would do their best to investigate it. The investigation is still going on, and right now I'm in the process of moving to a new place. Every night I'm scared that I might see that guy again, and I just hope he gets caught soon. One thing is for sure, I'll never look at the missed connections page again. I think the house next door might be haunted, and I'm not sure what to do or if I should do anything at all. The house has been empty for a long time, and it's a big old mansion that looks kind of creepy. The last people who bought it started fixing it up, but out of nowhere they stopped working on it. Before them there were 2 other owners, but none of them stayed too long. People keep buying the house, but they never stay for more than a few years before leaving it abandoned again. None of the owners ever finished the renovations or moved in, so the house is definitely empty. But about 6 weeks ago, I started noticing some activity. I saw lights turning on in the rooms late at night, but never before 1 a.m. I work from home and usually work overnight, so I'm awake all night. At first I thought it was just something normal. I thought maybe the owners had come back to grab something they left behind when they stopped the renovations, but there were never any cars in the driveway. The second time it happened, it was around 2 a.m. and again no cars were there. I got worried that someone might have broken in, so I called the police. I thought the cops would show up at the door, and if it was the owners, no big deal, but if it wasn't and it was squatters or people breaking in to do party, the police could stop them. Now it's a beautiful old historic mansion, and it would be a shame to see the house get damaged. I really care about old buildings, so I was worried. Anyway, the cops showed up, checked the property, knocked on the door, but no one answered. They looked through the windows, knocked some more, but since there was no sign of a break-in, they said they couldn't go inside without the owner's permission. I called them again a few days later. When it happened again, they came and checked everything just like before, but found nothing. Since they didn't see or hear anything, they didn't do anything. They said they would contact the owners to let them know that someone might be breaking into their empty property. Now, I haven't talked to the owners myself. They never came back after the day they told me they decided not to renovate. We weren't close enough for me to have their phone number or anything like that. But you're probably wondering why I think the house is haunted. Well, this is where things start to get weird. The last time I called the cops, I felt like they didn't take me seriously. Maybe they don't care because it's just an empty property, or maybe they think I'm crazy or making it up. I don't know, and I don't care, but I decided that the next time it happened I would record it with my phone. Now it was 4 whole days before I saw anything again. This time it was 3 a.m. and I know because I was baking a frozen pizza and had Alexa set an alarm for 16 minutes. When the alarm went off, I went into the kitchen to get the pizza out of the oven when I noticed the basement lights were on in the house next door. So I grabbed my phone and started recording. As soon as I started, a light turned on in their kitchen, which faces my way, and at that exact moment the basement light turned off. Then things just got stranger. The light started turning on in different parts of the house, in the kitchen, then the front of the house, then the second floor, the attic window, and finally the basement again. And I don't mean someone turned off the basement light, went upstairs to turn on the kitchen light, and then moved to another room to turn on another light. I mean, the lights were flashing on and off in different rooms at the same time, flipping the lights on and off. It doesn't make any sense. And why would anyone break into a house with a bunch of friends just to flip lights on and off in different rooms at the same time? So I made my recording and called 911 again. When they showed up, all the lights were off. They looked at me like I called them just because I was lonely, not because anything was really wrong. So I pulled out my phone to show the recording, but it was corrupt and wouldn't play. The cops were like, "Yeah, sure, you have a recording," and ended up doing the same thing they did before. As soon as they left, I saw the attic light turned on and off like it was saying "screw you" before it went off again. And every time I try to take a picture or record it, something goes wrong. The recording is either corrupt and won't play, or the picture doesn't take. I've tried taking pictures with my phone and tablet, but it never works. 3 nights ago it happened again, but I didn't do anything about it. I just ignored it and pretended I didn't see anything. I didn't have to work that night and hadn't been sleeping much, so I decided to lie on the couch and watch TV until I fell asleep. As I was turning off things, I went into the kitchen to turn off the light on my beta tank, which is on the counter. I said "good night, fish," like I always do, and just for fun I look out the window and said "good night, ghost." But as soon as I said it, the living room light turned on, but not with the usual white light. This time it was red, like someone had replaced the bulb with a red one. Then it turned off. About 15 minutes later, my cat, who was curled up on my stomach, jumped up, hissed, and ran out of the room. I sit up, and as soon as I do, I hear someone trying the front door knob. I went to the front door right away and look into the peephole, but there was no one there. Now, should I just ignore it and act like I don't see anything? Or should I try to figure out what's going on? And why do you have any suggestions for how I can find out if what I'm seeing is really supernatural? I moved into a new house over the weekend and paid the first month's rent. I signed a 1-year lease. The house is nice for something built into the 1930s, but it definitely has its issues. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, like fixing the peeling paint and creaky floors. The layout is weird too, with rooms that don't really make sense together. Honestly, it's not the best house, but I had to take what I could find since the rental market is tough right now. When I saw the house listed on Craigslist, I called the number right away. I was in such a rush to find a place that I asked if I could view it that same day or sometime during the week. Now, from the beginning, the guy gave me a bad feeling. He wasn't exactly creepy, but he was definitely annoying. We agreed to meet on Saturday so he could show me the inside of the house. But before that, he kept texting me every day multiple times asking, "Are you sure you want to see the house? I don't want my time wasted." I kept telling him that I live only 5 minutes away and that I would definitely be there on Saturday. I should mention that I found this house for me and my elderly father, who uses a wheelchair to move into. When we arrived, the landlord was outside in the yard smiling and looking friendly. I waved hello, and he waved back. Then I went around to the passenger side of the car to help my father out. As soon as the landlord saw me helping my dad, his whole expression changed. The smile vanished, and he started frowning, looking almost upset or annoyed. As we walked up to him, my dad held out his hand for a handshake, but the landlord ignored him and just looked at me saying, "I thought it was just you." He completely ignored my dad. I awkwardly tried to explain that I didn't mention it because he never asked. He then showed us the house. It was livable So we gave him the deposit. We move in over the weekend and paid the rent on the 6th. Then one day the landlord told me he needed to come to the house to do some plumbing work. I said that was fine, but I would be at work, so I'd leave the key above the door. I usually finish work around 12:30, and I told him that around 10 a.m. He texted me again asking me to confirm that I definitely wouldn't be home before 12:30 because of a safety hazard. I told him yes, I would be there after 12:30, but that day I ended up getting off work early and was heading home around 11 o'clock. Now remember when I mentioned the house has a weird layout, it's because the front door opens directly into a bedroom. That bedroom is mine. There's another door to the left that leads into the living room, which connects to the kitchen, and then to a back room with the bathroom. When I tried the doorknob, I found it was unlocked. As soon as I walked in, I saw my landlord in a hurry, quickly leaving my bedroom, went through the kitchen, ran past the back room, and then rushed out the back door, so it was clear he was trying to leave as fast as possible. Then I saw his car speeding out of my driveway. Feeling really confused, I went back to my bedroom and found almost my all drawer open with stuff scattered everywhere. My nightstand was also open. I didn't know what to do next because I'm stuck here. Finding a new place is hard with my credit, and it's even tougher to find a wheelchair accessible home.